guys, so we're chilling. I feel like you guys are a little higher than what like I usually do, but we gotta do what we gotta do when we don't have like a tripod. So anyway, so I just, like I said, wanted to sit back and update you guys. I am drinking a caramel frappuccino with almond. I do usually almond milk rather. I usually do still get the whipped cream. I just really try to like limit my, oh my god, it's so sweet, my dairy intake. So I don't really do like whole milk anymore, but you know, it is what it is. I'm also consuming, I have the tomato mozzarella sandwich that they do, and this is what it looks like if you've never had it. It's actually really tasty. This is like the only thing that they have been doing, so or that I like, should I say. I'm trying to like sit up a little bit. So anyway, this is the car chat portion. Like I said, I wanted to just like kind of give you guys some like life updates and like just let you know what's going on, and really just like explain my struggle and like what I've been struggling with recently, because I just feel like, what is life if you aren't like sharing what you're going through? Because honestly, what you're going through might help free someone else. And if you tell them, like, if you explain like, this is what I'm going through and this is how I got over it, like it just might motivate that person to take on a situation they may be going through head on and deal with it in a different situation, or conquer it way quicker than you do. And what is humanity if we're not helping others? So all that to say, I just want to like give that disclaimer. I am not by any means a therapist. I am a teacher. If you have followed me for a while, you know. And jokingly enough, as teachers, we always say we have like 16 million jobs. And one of the jobs that we sometimes are therapists. Like we have to help our students work some things out. And again, I'm not licensed or any of that, but I'm saying that jokingly because like we gotta chat, we gotta work people through something. So all that to say, I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing. So I think I should start my first struggle. Actually, I'm gonna start with a happy note because my first struggle was kind of long-winded. So happily enough, as you guys know, because I posted it a while ago, my cousin proposed to his girlfriend. Again, my older cousin is like my older brother, like we grew up with each other, so it was always me, him, and my god brother. We all grew up together. We're all about 2 years apart from one another. So actually they're born in the same year. I'm 2 years younger than they are, but we grew up like brothers and sisters. So all that to say, my older cousin got married yesterday, which I'm so happy for him. It was a lot though, I'm not gonna lie. I have been doing event planning or event decorating for some time, just for fun, for like family members. Not that I like ever want to make a career out of it, but I absolutely, actually let me not say that, because I just might, but I love doing it. Like I love the process. This wedding was the most intense process I have ever gone through with planning an event. Just like, it was just a lot, like, and I don't even know why, but like this, it was just such a heavy spirit, like, that I was just like fighting against, like going through it. And it was draining. Like the last 2 weeks, which is why I haven't been posting, was partly contributed to this wedding, and not to blame the wedding or blame them, but more so just like just the amount of work or the amount of attention or energy that it required. I just couldn't like stop and like film. Like I didn't have the time to like pick up a camera. I was running around like trying to get other stuff done, like stuff done, and still work a full-time job, like, you know what I mean? It was just a really, really, really tough moment, on top of the fact that I was struggling with other things at the time. So all that to say, my older cousin got married. I did not pick up a camera yesterday, so I don't know if there's any footage, but the photographer, who is a friend to my sister, she is absolutely amazing. She showed me the raw footage, like didn't even edit anything yet, and I was just like, wow, you are an amazing photographer. Like, I don't know why you don't do this. And she's like a criminal justice major in college, but I'm just like, you are literally amazing. She's so good. And so if I have any of those pictures by the time this video comes out, then like I'll insert. If not, I'll just insert the ones that I took on my phone. But I coordinated this wedding and decorated it. And it was a lot, you guys. It was fun. I'm glad that they enjoyed it. It seemed like everyone who was there enjoyed themselves. One of my really good girlfriends, Jasmine, who was like an amazing event decorator herself, I sent her some pictures. She's like, it looks so good. And like, she's like, I love how like simplistic it was, but like it looks great. And I was just like, oh, thanks. Like, I felt such like a huge compliment because she is amazing and her wedding was like flawless. Like, I love the way she decorated her wedding. So I felt honored by the fact that she gave me a compliment with that. So anyway, all that to say, I'll insert some pictures just so you guys can see the work and kind of what's been taking up my time. So there's that. I also have one ashy hand, but we're just going to ignore that. Thank you. So that was part of what was going on. Another part of what has been going on is that I just have not been feeling like myself recently. I've really just been uber emotional and just like crying all over the place and just like a hot mess. Part of it is what I shared with my mom. I told her that I feel like right now, like God has just brought me through like a pruning season. Like I am in the midst of like pruning, and like certain things just had to like fall off of me before I can get like to the next level of whatever I'm doing. And so like I've been pruning. Some of the things that I've been going through has really just been like pruning some of the situations like with my dad. Again, I have a bio dad and I have a stepdad. But my stepdad is my dad. Like any video you see and I say dad, like that's my dad. He's literally been in my life since I was 14 months old. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way for anyone who may be watching this, but he has been there in ways that my bio dad has not. And so I respect him 1,000-fold for that. Growing up, my stepdad has never, and this is honest to God, the most I've even said stepdad in a conversation. Let's be clear with that one. But he has literally been there for every milestone, every dance recital, every track meet, every like whatever it was that I did, softball games, all that, he was there and present. And therefore I was at practices and all that. Like he is like one of the greatest examples of what it means to be a dad and what it means to be a stepdad. I cannot even imagine men who don't fully take on like their wife's children, and the fact that he did and has never ever said, oh, that's my wife's daughter or anything. He always says, I have this amount of kids, Nia's my oldest, etc., etc. I just like love and respect him 1,010% for that. So Dad, if you're watching this, thank you so much. And this is like perfect timing because you probably will see this right before Father's Day. But he's just like such an amazing man, and he's always been there. However, because like I do have a bio dad, there's always kind of been like this weird void that I've had in life. And so I recently have just been like dealing with like the feeling of being rejected and unwanted or whatever from like my dad, and then really having to deal with that with someone who's not even present, right? Like he's not here, so he can't defend himself in any way, he can't explain himself. And so it's really tough to kind of like deal with like daddy issues and not be able to talk to that person to gain clarity. So I've kind of just been like crying some things out, giving some things to Jesus, working some things out, and really just like deciding and standing firm on the fact that like this is not going to run my life. I am no longer going to be in bondage from this. I just had to come to the realization, if I did not go through the things that I went through because of my bio dad, I would not be A, who I am right now, B, who I desire to be as a woman, as a wife, and as a mother. I would not desire the things that I want for my children if I didn't have that, for lack of a better term, because of my bio dad. So all that to say, I'm just come to like a really good place now, but it took me some time, you guys. It took me some time. So I've kind of been processing like those emotions and like, you know, like the disappointment and, you know, the frustration and the anger or whatever you might want to put on it. But I had to like really like deal with that, work through it, and give it to God. So that is part of what I've been struggling with. over the past couple of weeks and why I just haven't felt like equipped enough to pick up a camera and be holly jolly Nia. Like, I wasn't holly jolly, like I was sad. Like real sad. And it's all good now. So that was one struggle. Another struggle, you guys, and I'm going to take a bite of my food before I even get into this. Again, I have this mozzarella sandwich, tomato mozzarella. Wow, that was like all cheese on that side. Where's the tomato? I think it has like pesto in it too. It's so freaking good. Like, I love this so much. That was a thick piece of bread. Anyway, so another thing that I've been like dealing with over the past couple of weeks, I had this entire like Mother's Day weekend vlog that like I was going to do for you guys and like run around and like, you know, give ideas of like what I got and what I did. And honestly, it was such great footage. Like, I'm not going to lie, like I felt really good that day. I woke up, I felt super motivated. I was like excited, in great spirits. And then partly through the day, it hit me that this is another Mother's Day that I'm not celebrating, that I can't celebrate. And I really wanted to like elaborate and expound upon that. Is that the word? Like, go in a deeper understanding with you guys so you understand like what I mean. So here we go. This is the first time I've shared this story in public, and I really just hope that this frees someone else or gives them comfort. So prior to meeting my boyfriend, I dated this guy when I lived in Arizona. He was an awesome person. I won't say his name just because I don't have permission to say so, and I don't know how he feels about his information being out there, but I dated this guy. He was a great guy, came from a great family who was like very supportive, and really just made me feel like a part of their family, like from day one. Even when that guy and I were just friends, like they were like, oh, like, this is your new friend, this is Nia, all right, whatever. Like, they pretty much just like brought me in when I was in a place in my life where I felt alone. Like, I was literally across the country by myself, and no family was there, no friends of the family, any of that. I mean, there was like a friend of a family member, but I still didn't really have that relationship with them, and that was pretty much it. Like, I really did not have anyone out there. It was just me by myself, right? And so when I met this guy, I was kind of not lonely, but alone, like by myself. And so he and I like developed like this really great friendship, and eventually it like developed into a relationship, and eventually it developed into an engagement. So he and I had gotten engaged, and we had like a wedding date planned. The venue was booked, the caterer was like my people, like we were like getting married. And so a few months after, or a few months into our engagement, I found out that we were pregnant, and I found out specifically on April 25th, 2019, that we were having a baby. And so the baby definitely came as a shock, because that was not the plan. Like, we had like a 3-year plan, like, and the fact that the baby came literally 3 years earlier was just not in the plans. And so I was shocked but excited, because I was finishing up my grad school work. Like, I was already like teaching and, you know, like doing all that. I already graduated my bachelor's, and I was just like in a place where it didn't really matter to me. Like, I was getting married by the end of the year and all that. It wasn't on my plans, but like it didn't affect me as much. Like, it didn't derail, should I say, what I was trying to do. And so I was like, you know what, like, it's all good, like, it's gonna be okay. You know, I'm just gonna get myself together, get adjusted, and, you know, like, it's gonna be well, right? And so eventually I like let him know, like, hey, so I took not one, not even two, I think I took like 3 different pregnancy tests, and like, and by 3 different brands. and they all said positive. And I was like, so we're having a baby. In case you're unaware, yeah, we're having a baby. And so he just did not take the information well. He was just like, what the heck? Like, this was not in our plans. Like, I don't know what the heck to do. Like he freaked out immediately. And for 2 weeks, we lived in the same house, slept in the same bed, and he barely spoke to me. And when I say barely, I mean barely spoke to me. It was like, hey, good morning. That was it. The way he made me feel was like I trapped him. I guess that's like the best way to say it. I don't know how you can trap someone who you are engaged to, you live in the same house with, and you literally have like a wedding date planned. But that was definitely an indicator that like I was not in a situation that I wanted to be in for an extended period of time. So I was like, wow, okay, this is very, very interesting stuff. So we ended up pregnant. And I had decided that I was moving back to New Jersey. I had to go through a student teaching process for my grad school work, and I did not really want to do that in Arizona. I wanted to be back in New Jersey, mainly because New Jersey's education system is just a better system. And I know that sounds bougie or rude, but New Jersey really does the thing for education, and I just did not want to be trained per se by someone who doesn't measure up. And I know that really sounds really, really bad, but that was my arrogant logic back then, right? And so all that to say, I decided I was moving back to New Jersey. We were still engaged when I left. We were still a couple, all of that. So I had my ring, everything. But I was moving back to New Jersey. I was going back home, and I was going to do my grad school work, be with my family, all that, especially because I was having a baby. So I moved back to New Jersey. By this point, it was Memorial Day weekend, 2019. And I'm telling this story. I'm recording this with you guys on Memorial Day. That's crazy. I didn't realize that. So 4 years ago on Memorial Day weekend, I moved back to New Jersey, and yeah, like my journey had begun. So I moved there, moved back home, and was living at my great grandmother's house, which is like the family house. Everyone in my family has lived at that house for the most part at one point in their life. So I moved back to my great grandmother's house, and I stayed there for a few months. And the first couple of weeks that I was there, I really was just going back and forth, trying to figure out like what the heck I was doing. Like, I really didn't expect to be pregnant. I wasn't mad at it, but it was a lot. I hadn't finished my grad school work yet, and it was a lot going on, and I was kind of just like, I don't know what to do. So I was like internally conflicted, which really just added like stress to my life, and it just wasn't like a healthy situation to be in. Me not knowing what I was doing with this relationship, knowing that I was basically shunned for like the first 2 weeks of my knowledge of being pregnant, to him finally coming around, but like it's kind of like the damage was already done, and it was just a very interesting position to be in. So I just really didn't know what to do. And so eventually I was like, I made peace with it. Like, I'm gonna be with this baby. It's gonna be my baby. We'll be fine, whatever. And just when I had like made peace with the situation, one night I literally felt, it felt like a balloon popped in my like uterus. Like, it felt like a balloon. And I don't know if that's what it feels like when people's water break, but that's what it felt like. It felt like a balloon was inflated in me and it popped, which I guess that makes sense. I guess that's what like the placenta basically is, right? Like it's like a balloon. I don't know. But all that to say, it really felt like a balloon popped and a whole bunch of water started gushing out. At this point, I was exactly 12 weeks pregnant. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I went to the bathroom. I had the urge to use the bathroom. I went to the bathroom and I used it, and then all of a sudden a bunch of blood just started coming out, and I'm on the toilet. It's like blood, just like, and I mean like chunks and chunks and chunks of blood just like coming out of my private area into the toilet. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And for whatever reason, I don't know why. And I know this sounds like I'm laughing now because it's like, why would you even do that? But thankfully I did. And so what happened was I like literally like put my head down and like looked between my legs and just saw like the amount of blood that was like coming out of me into the toilet. And I'm like, what the heck? And I got a quick vision or a quick sight of a fetus, and it fell into the toilet. And I was just like, what just happened? And I just could not stop bleeding. So I called the one person who I know might know a thing or two, my mama. My mama has literally birthed 8 kids, and this is the first time I've ever been pregnant. So I'm like, I'm calling my mama. So I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, this and this and this and this happened, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's just so much blood, et cetera, et cetera. And she's like, call your doctor's office and get connected to the emergency doctor, like the person who's on call. So I'm like, okay, fine. Get connected to the triage nurse, and we're talking, and they're like, come to the hospital. So I'm like, all right, fine. But I was so just like in shock. My mom finally made it to my grandmother's house, my great-grandmother's house, and my great aunt was also there at the time. And I'm like, I have to go to the hospital. It was like literally like so much blood, like I could not even begin to describe how much blood was going on. And if I should have given a disclaimer, maybe I'll go back and just put like a little line of a disclaimer if you don't like to hear the word blood, or if you're envisioning this and it's making you feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry. This is just a part of the story of my life, and I just feel like I just need to share it. So anyhow, moving on. So my mom finally gets there, and she's like, all right, like we need to go to the hospital, like, you know, they need to check you out, blah blah. I'm like, Mom, the baby is in the toilet. And she's like, what? I'm like, the baby is in the toilet. I am not leaving this house until we get it out. And she was just like, are you sure? I'm like, I promise you the baby's in the bottom of the toilet. And she was just like, okay. So she was like, I don't know what to do. Like, no one knew what to do. Like, what do you do in that situation? Obviously, you can't flush the baby down the toilet. You obviously need to get it out, but like, do you stick your hand in there? Do I need a glove? Like it was such no one prepared us for this type of situation that like we did not know how to deal with it. And so it was just like very, 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 very interesting moment in my life. And so thank God for my great aunt, who is just the brave of the brave and has no issues with seeing blood, touching blood, or being any of that. Like, she is like A1 day one. And she literally got like a serving spoon and like was fishing around, and eventually the baby came out. And it was traumatizing. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm sorry if this story traumatized anyone, but it was a lot to know that that was your baby, to know that the baby obviously is no longer in your belly, to literally have to pick the baby up and place it inside of a container and walk your baby into the hospital. It's something that, like, if you have gone through this, do you understand? Because if you did not, you have no idea how traumatizing it is. So that was a moment that I had to go through all by myself. I mean, my mom and my aunt were there, but meaning like no one in my life knew how to deal with that. And this is me doing this by myself. And so I was just like, wow, okay, this is very interesting. So I finally bring the baby into the hospital. They sent me back because I had brought the baby in, and it seemed as if I had fully discarded everything. All they did was ultrasound to make sure like nothing else was floating around in there, and that was that. They sent me home. They did not do a D&E, which, from what I understand, and all my nurse friends who are watching this can give a better description. From what I understand, is basically when they go in and they like sweep everything out, make sure nothing else is in there, and they send you on your merry way. If that was not a great description, please correct me in the comments. I'm not really sure, but I just know it was called a D&E or whatever. So they did that, and they sent me about my merry way. So they're like, you know, like your menstrual cycle will start in like a few days. Now that like you're not had, like there's no longer a baby there, and you know, just so you know. So I'm like, okay, like, you know, whatever. I am a teacher, but I still work over the summers, and at that time in my life I was working at the summer camp that I've been working for already for like 4 or 5 years. So like I was familiar with the location. I was there. I had the same job I had before, and whatever, we were living our lives. So I went back to work, and you know, was doing my thing. And this camp is like a really, really, really large camp. It's outdoors. It's a lot of walking going on. So I was living my married life. I did what I had to do. From that point on, I was on my way to go to camp one morning, and my younger sister, this was maybe about like 2 weeks later, my younger sister was coming to work with me. So I like stopped by the house to like pick her up, because like we were working at the same camp. There's no point of someone, 2 cars going, and at the time she couldn't drive. So anyway, I went to go pick her up for work that morning, and so I stopped past my parents' house, and I was like, hey, like I need to use the bathroom, you know, finish getting ready, meet me in the car. So go to the bathroom, and as I'm at the bathroom, it literally felt like something was stuck in my crotch. Like, I know that sounds weird, but that is literally the best way I can describe it. It literally just felt like something, like a ball was just like stuck there, and like I couldn't get it out. Like sorry, that sounds like a lot of, this is very much TMI, but I could not get it out, and I literally like bared down and like tried to like push it out. It was so intense to the point my mom was like, Nia, are you okay? Because I guess the sounds that I was making like triggered someone who's been in labor 8 times. And my mom was just like, are you in labor? Like I felt like it sounded like, and it felt like I was in labor, and I was like pushing a baby out. And my mom was like, what is going on? I'm like, Mom, there's something stuck. Like, I can't get it out. And she was just like, okay, we're going to the hospital. So she runs my sister to work really quickly, and gets back to the house. And I'm like, I'm stuck on the toilet the whole time. Like, I cannot move, right? So I'm sitting here, I'm trying to like bear down, get whatever the heck is there. Because obviously at this point, I know it's not a baby. But I don't know what the heck is going on. So I'm like, yo, this is nuts. Like, Mom, like, help me out. Like, so she's like, we have to go to the hospital. I get to the hospital, and I'm like, okay, like this is a lot. But I get to the hospital, and before I got to the hospital, I put on a pad, like a menstrual pad, and I like wrapped myself in a towel. So we're driving. The hospital is maybe like 15 minutes from my parents' house, if that. So we're driving to the hospital. And I'm like, okay, you know, like, let me get my life together. Let me get out the car. Let me get into this ER. Let me check in, blah, blah. In the matter of 15 minutes, my menstrual pad has fully saturated. It was fully saturated. Fully saturated so bad to the point there was literally blood running down my legs as I'm walking into the hospital. Ladies, young women, if you're listening to this, or men who just have no clue, in no way, shape, or form should you be saturating a pad in 15 minutes. So clearly something is wrong, right? So I'm like, okay, this is a lot. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know why I'm bleeding this much. And let me backtrack for a second. 6 days before that, because I forgot to mention this, 6 days before that, I have been experiencing the most intense cramping I have ever had in my entire life. Like, when I say I was miserable, like I was miserable for 6 days. 6 days miserable, like just like, oh my God, like why? Like, this is like, what kind of pain is this? Like, this is too much. Like, what in the world? Like, it was so intense, and I didn't know what was going on. But finally on the 6th day, I was like, all that had happened, and I had to go to the hospital. I'm like, no more. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I have to go to the hospital. So it's on the 7th day rather. So anyway, jumping back forward, get to the hospital and check in. Thankfully, no one is in the waiting room, which is like a godsend because it's not even a thing for the ER. No one's in the waiting room. They call me back literally within seconds. I think I sat down for maybe like maybe a minute or two. They call me back within seconds to do like my vitals and all that other stuff. And I get there and my energy drops as I'm sitting in the chair. Like I could not, I did not feel like I had enough energy to even walk, to connect to the bed, like to the, what's it called? The gurney. Like I couldn't even walk maybe like the 15 steps it may have taken from the chair that I sat in to get my vitals done to the gurney that was literally just through the doors. Like it was like I could not muster up the energy. And so the nurse is like, you have to get up or you cannot be seen. And I'm like, okay, like totally insensitive now that I think about it, but whatever. So she got on one end, my mom got on the other end, and they literally on one side and the other side, and they literally basically carried me to the gurney. It literally felt like I was like walking on clouds. Like I was going, like I was actually dying. And so but God, like literally, but God, I was literally dying. It was so much to the point where I could not even fully get onto the gurney. I literally had just like plopped as much of my body as I could onto the gurney, and they like put like the side rail up. It was to the point like it was like squeezing against me because I just couldn't even move. They swing me around the corner, get me into a room, and one of the nurses comes in, and I'm like, I need to use the bathroom. And she's like, okay. She's like, well, do you think like you can make it across the hallway to use the bathroom? Or do you think that you need like a bedside commode, like a, you know? And I'm like, I'm not going to make it across the hallway. So they bring in like this porta potty basically for the hospital room. And they transfer me to it. I sit down. I use the restroom in front of my mom, the nurses, and God. And all of a sudden, this huge sack of whatever drops outside of me into the bedpan, and my energy goes low. Like so low that my blood pressure was threateningly like low. Like, so anyone knows, like when you get your blood pressure taken, where they really want you is to be, I think it's like 120/80. Like that's like the perfect range. Now typically I pretty much dance around that, right? Like I'm typically pretty much normal, praise the Lord. And so in that moment, after whatever dropped outside of me dropped and I was using the restroom, my top number, which again, my nurse friends, please correct me because I don't know what it is, but the top number, which is typically the one that's higher, which is typically the one that's 120, dropped to 49. And I forget what the bottom number was, but I just know that like the top number being 49 is actually super freaking dangerous. And I was like, I was going, like I was kissing death. And so it was so intense to the point where the nurse was like, help, or something like that, and like pressed the button. It was like a swarm of nurses, and I can like vaguely see it, like, but like my vision was blurry. It was so intense. And it was like a swarm of nurses into the room. All of a sudden, they like pick me up off the thing, throw me onto the bed. They put IVs in both of my arms, and they're like, come on, like, let's go, come on. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what happened, but apparently it was so bad to the point where like I almost went. And so they get the IVs into me. I'm all of a sudden energetic. I feel great. I'm like, okay, hey everyone, we're back. And they're like, you good? Does that feel better? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And I look over into the bedside commode. There was a blood clot. I might be over exaggerating, but I would say probably at least that big, if not larger. But there was a blood clot that had dropped outside of me, so large that, come to find out, once I got evaluated by the resident GYN, apparently my cervix dilated 4 centimeters as if I was having a baby. And so when she told me that, she's like, yeah, so you're dilated like 4 centimeters. I said, I'm sorry, what? Dilation is the word they use when there's a baby. There's no baby in here, so how are we dilating? Like, what is my cervix doing? And so I was very confused because, again, I know dilation only in reference to having a baby, being in labor. And so I'm like, why is my cervix dilating? Apparently, the blood clot was so large that it was like pressing against my cervix. It was basically notifying my body saying, hey, there's something in here that needs to come out. Basically, like replicating labor and saying, you know, there's a baby in here that needs to come out. You need to dilate so this baby can come out. And so I didn't even know that I was basically in active labor with no baby inside of me. And I'm like, okay. So they're like, yeah, so we need to actually get you into emergency surgery because you're losing too much blood. And you don't have a baby in there anymore. And so we need to tell your body to like clamp down and start to heal itself. And so I'm like, what? They came in, they do this thing called packing, which I'm sorry, it's the most uncomfortable thing ever. Basically, they just put a bunch of gauze up your body to try to like soak up the blood, and baby, that joint hurt. And it was not comfortable. It's rough. It is like, it was just the worst experience I've ever experienced being in anyone's gynecology office. And so it was terrible. And I wasn't in the office, but I was at the hospital, and it was bad. So my doctor, who is my favorite doctor with the practice where I went to be with, she actually left that practice, and I loved her so much because she literally saved my life, that I followed her to her new practice. The doctor comes in and she's like, what is going on right now? She's like, what are we seeing? She didn't know what was going on. So she finally goes in, she like is doing an ultrasound or in the room. She's like, I don't see anything, like what is going on? She turns the monitor upside down and is like, oh yeah, we got to clear her out. And she's just like, yeah, we're getting you in the operating room right now. So I don't know what the actual procedure is called because, yet again, I'm not a nurse. But basically, there's this procedure where your body is not communicating with itself, and it's not, the body is not being notified that you need to, that it needs to close down and like stop the bleeding because like the baby has been delivered. And so basically there was like this miscommunication in my body, to the point where they had to go and do this procedure where they insert like a balloon and like blow it up inside of you, and then they deflate it, which basically I guess simulates like birth has happened. And so it like signals to your body like, oh, you can clamp down now, because the baby has been delivered. And so all that to say, my body had to go through this in like emergency surgery because at that point, they could not stop me from bleeding. The packing was not working. And once they had went in and like did the D&E and like sweeped everything, mind you, they did the D&E 2 weeks after I had already basically gave birth to my baby. So they did it 2 weeks afterwards, after I had the miscarriage. And so they went in, they swept everything, but my body would still not stop bleeding. So they had to do that other procedure I just described. And so what had been an emergency surgery procedure of maybe like a half an hour just to go in and do like the D&E or whatever, I actually was on an operating table for an hour and a half because they could not stop me from bleeding. The doctor reported that when I was done, I had lost half of my body's blood supply. And it was so amazing to just know like, wow, God brought me through that. Like, I lost half my blood supply. I was in active labor with no baby inside of me for 6 days. Apparently all of those pains that I was feeling were contractions. Apparently my cervix had dilated 4 centimeters and I needed no epidural. I don't know what was going on in my life, but in that moment it was just a lot. So all that to say, to bring that back to Mother's Day of this year, it was so tough just realizing that I have gone through so much, right? I've gone through labor. I've gone through bringing my baby into a hospital because my baby's not breathing, not alive. I've gone through all the process, maybe not all, but I would say a very similar process to a lot of moms who have their babies and that they get to see, they get to celebrate this holiday. And although I went through all of that, I still can't technically celebrate. And so it really just hit me like a ton of bricks the day before Mother's Day that like, wow, this is another year that you can't technically celebrate, even though you are a mom. You have an angel baby, but you don't have a present here baby to prove that you are a mom. And so I really just felt very alone in that moment. No one knew what to do. My boyfriend, I have to thank God for him, like the day before Mother's Day, we actually had a date night planned, and I was just so like in my emotions. I canceled date night, and I don't typically do that because our schedules are so like whatever. So when we do get the time to see each other, it's like, no, I get to see my man. And so the fact that I canceled date night, I think signaled like, okay, this is something serious, like what's going on. He was like, when I explained to him everything that was going on, he was like, okay. He was like, well, Cold Stone, which is my favorite ice cream place, he's like, Cold Stone closes in like 20 minutes, but like, you want to go to Cheesecake Factory? Like, he just like did not know what to do. But I thank God for him to be like trying to scramble to like be like, clearly, you know, there's a lot going on right now and I just want to be there for you. But it was just a lot, and it was very hard to deal with Mother's Day this year. So all that to say, the footage that I did have, I just didn't even finish completing it, and I didn't post it that week because I've been struggling with that. Like, I've been struggling. But again, thank God for my family. I'm still here, alive and well. And I really just hope that like this story helps someone else, helps them get through, helps encourage them, in some way, shape, or form. I don't even want to begin to try to explain how it can be encouraging or how it can make someone feel well. But I just hope that me sharing this story with you guys and putting it out there is just a way to A, heal myself, B, maybe heal someone else, but also just bring comfort in just the presence of God as you're like listening to the story, because I really could have not ever been on YouTube. I didn't start my YouTube channel until after that. You could have not heard me here saying this story because I could have been dead and gone. And so the fact that I'm here alive and able to share such a miraculous situation, something that the Lord has truly, truly, truly brought me through, where my life was on the line. I just hope that this brings freedom to anyone. And so I am going to go ahead and end this video. I am looking at the time. I've been recording for 42 minutes, which is great. But I don't know if I'm even going to have the time to like filter in anything else, because you may turn this off by then. But I just really pray for whoever is watching this right now. I hope that you have found this video in good spirits and you are doing well. I just wanted to give a huge shout out really quickly before I end to my mom and my sisters who have made my Mother's Day absolutely amazing, and I'll insert a picture. They were so great this year. I explained to my mom the day of Mother's Day that like I was just not with it. Like I just wasn't present. I didn't want to be there. And thankfully my mom was not offended because she's my mom, and how do I want to celebrate this holiday of her. She was not offended in any way, shape, or form. She actually equipped my sisters. It was like, hey, this is what's going on with your older sister. And she was like, you know, get to Build-A-Bear, make her, get her a bear to represent the baby. And my younger sister, my teenage sister, she actually made me a necklace that goes around with what the baby's name was going to be. And I just thank God for them because they really brought the whole day together for me and really just made me know like it's okay and you are loved and you are still a mama, you know, no matter what happened to the baby. And so I thank God for them. And if you don't have a circle like what I just described, then you need to reevaluate your circle. But anyway, all that to say, I am going to end this very, very, very long video. I'm so sorry that I've been missing and just in action, but I did feel like you guys at least deserve to understand what my struggle was and what I've been going through and why I have just kind of been secluded for the past couple weeks. And you know, it is what it is. But other than that, you guys, I'm going to see you guys next Thursday. I pray that you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you soon. Peace.